Breaking tonight, as we mentioned, my colleague Harris Faulkner sat down with President Trump just moments ago, wrapping that interview up in Dallas. We hope to speak to her at the other side of taking a listen to just a piece of this. Let's take it.
The point where you feel what the protesters, you feel that, yeah, it's heartbreak.
It's terrible.
And it's also fear that things may not change and that there will be some who are vulnerable, people of color who, the power imbalance. You talk about, some on some police departments. You and I are in agreement. In fact, 19% of police departments across the U.S. are former military.
Right.
So, and that touches me.
It's true, I know it does.
But when we look at how we fix it, talk to me about police reform. You call yourself the law and order president. What does that mean?
Well, we are going to do lots of, I think, good things, but we also have to keep our police and our law enforcement strong. They have to do it right. They have to be trained in a proper manner. They have to do it right. Again, the sad thing is that they are very professional, but when you see an event like that with the more than 8 minutes of horror, that's 8 minutes really of horror, it's a disgrace. And then people start saying, well, are all police like that? They don't know. Maybe they don't think about it that much. It doesn't make any difference. The fact is they start saying, well, police are like that. Police aren't like that. I've seen so many incredible things that they do, but you don't see that. You don't put it on Fox. You don't put it on television. You don't.
Well, we do. I did a police town hall.
Oh, well, that's good. Okay.
So I do.
Go back and watch
but you know what else I see? I see that we have asked our officers to do so much.
Yeah.
They're solving our homeless issues. Yeah. They're solving domestic violence calls, which can be, absolutely unpredictable when you put that much human emotion together. But at the same time, we can't live without them feeling ready. The suicide rates are up among police officers, particularly on the East Coast in New York. So we know that the issues are there.
It's a very tough job, Harris. You look.
It is.
When you look, I saw the police officer standing on a corner innocently, and he gets stabbed, in that case by a terrorist last week. How bad was that? You're just saying, what is this all about? We've seen some terrible things happen to police officers also. And, there's that line, but most of the police officers are really good people.
Well, joining us now from Dallas is my colleague, Harris Faulkner. Just wrapped up that interview. Pretty extensive, it looked like, just for the amount of time.
Yeah.
Good evening, Harris. Tell me your impressions of the questions you asked and what the president said.
So, I think the president is quite used to talking about the politics of the moment, Bret, you know that. But in this moment, there was no getting around that the questioner looked a lot like the protesters in the street. And I made the point of putting that out there. And I don't normally, but I think it's worth something because you can't just call them rioters. And he and I talked about that. They're peaceful protesters. What do you have to say to them? One of the things I asked him, Bret, was, can you be the law and order president? I did ask him what that meant, by the way, and he talked about that. But can you be that and also be the consoler in chief? His answer was interesting. He thinks that the two are one and the same, and that if you get too soft, then you cannot lead. And those things are important to know about this president because we only have one president at a time, and we want to know how they're going to deal with the moment that I described to the president off the top of our conversation, that history may look back on, future generations rather may look back on this historical moment and wonder who we were. And I wanted to know, is he the president that can unite us? And so that's where the conversation went, and we talked about General Milley and the pushback on that now infamous photograph at Lafayette Square, and how he felt about the Secretary of Defense also taking exception and apologizing and regretting that photo. He said it wasn't significant to him that they took exception, and that he still thinks it is a great moment for him in his presidency. So we talked about those issues, and we listened. Coming out of a pretty high energy event here at a mega church in Dallas, Gateway.
Very quickly, Harris, do you sense, and he hasn't talked a lot about the frustration, the anger, the fear in African-American communities, that President Trump tapped into that in some of the things he told you?
You know, I think what he tapped into, and I can only say this, I shouldn't say I think. I know what he tapped into because he mentioned it more than once. He watched the 8 minutes and 46 seconds, he said, of George Floyd's death. He taps into the loss and the hurt and the pain, and he understands that. I think where we were kind of pressing back and forth in our conversation was, then do you understand how important it is for them to hear from you in this moment from that consoler-in-chief perspective? I don't know that that is as important to him from his perspective. He thinks that fixing the economy is how you bring everybody together and bring them forth. He wants to restore the markings of black wealth and that rise that was happening in black communities economically, and that's how he wants to go forward. It was a fascinating conversation to kind of get in there with the president and see where he is.
I look forward to seeing the whole thing, and we will here on Fox News Channel. Harris, as always, thank you.